So with that said, there's 5 different screen sizes you can choose from. There's a 3-inch, all these are diagonal measurements, okay? So you've got a 3-inch, HD, everything we do is HD, IPS type screen. So the highest possible quality screens in the market. So a 3-inch, a 4-inch, a 5-inch, a 7-inch, and a 10-inch. And when we have that engagement with a client, you tell them that, they're like, well, holy crap, what screen is right for me?
Yeah.
Well, what Amy just said, we could rule out some screens very quickly depending on what you're trying to accomplish. And those are questions that we will ask you that others will not ask you, because there's a different philosophy here. We want to make sure we pair you up with the right product so you can be successful. If you're, for example, let's say that you're going to sell retirement community type properties. So your vertical is that 50 some plus to 60 something, maybe 70 plus. Well, I wouldn't send them a 3-inch screen. It's too small. They're going to have to take their readers out. I wouldn't do that. So what I would do is encourage you to use like a 7-inch screen. And so, but if you went out and said, I'm doing a general mailing and my demographic is all over the place, then I'd say, okay, default, nothing smaller than a 4-inch, okay? The 3-inch is an awesome screen. It renders amazing quality. But I caution that screen just because the price difference between a 3 and a 4 is really small. So you get a lot more in the 4. But when you're crunching numbers and you're trying to fit in a budget, sometimes that 3-inch works. So going back to what I was saying, go with a 4-inch is a great one. It's a middle of the road, budgetary conscious screen that doesn't leave anything on the table. The quality is amazing, and by far it's the most popular. I would say, hundreds of thousands a month
yes.
in those type of
For
screens.
sure.
So
and the ROI is there. I mean,
for
we
sure.
have clients, and I think we talked about this in some other Facebook Lives that we've done, but I think if you haven't watched that, it's worth saying now. We have clients that have done split tests with regular print and a video brochure, and the results were so dramatic, staggering on the response rate that the video brochure. They decided to do a second split test just to make sure that the response rates weren't wrong.
Well, it was, as I said, I want to make sure it wasn't lightning that struck.
Right,
so,
and that was a couple years ago, and they have moved their campaign to strictly video brochures, and their mail drops are between 2,000 and 3,000 pieces each. That they're doing, I think, every other month.
Yeah, they're doing every other month, and then we have other. We have other clients that that ship out 50 a day.
Yeah.
I mean, so do the math. There's a few thousand, and not that that's for everyone, okay? And that leads me to another question, which about minimums.
Yeah.
Because we can talk about the 2,000, the 3,000, stuff like that, but the reality of our business is we never do less than 1, and we always tell people that. So our minimum is 1. But we will accommodate whatever necessary and whatever you need, considering that the numbers work for you. Obviously, as you get as you get lower in quantity, the price dramatically increases per unit. So there's a sweet spot for these. But if you just want to test it because you're not really sure, and you want to have the opportunity maybe to fine tune that campaign, we'll do 25 for you. We'll do 20 and get it out for you. So minimums, we don't have one. That's not true of other guys. They try to sell you 100, and kind of sucks when you're forced to buy 100 and you're just gun shy. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to provide barriers to the product. We want to open it up and allow people to be able to get into the product and utilize it to build their businesses and stuff like that, and then certainly develop other campaigns as they find successes in it. So.
Although the sweet spot, just so you know, starts about 50 pieces.
Yeah.
50, 100 is where these prices start to be more reasonable. But when Delta Airlines called and they want 1, I'm going to make them 1.
That's right. Well, I'll make 1 for anybody. So hey, please don't hesitate to let me know. So how long is usually the way it works? It's like, what's the timeline? So I want to say that. Well, you talk about timeline.
Timeline is about, we're talking quantities that are like under 1,000 pieces. Timeline's about 3 weeks from proof approval. So we'll get your artwork in. We'll turn around a PDF proof. We'll email you that proof. Yeah. After you approve the proof, the clock starts. Then it's a 3-week lead time until we have them ready and inspected and ready to ship to you. Our prices do not include freight because so many of what we do, we end up mailing. Some clients want it overnighted. Some clients are fine for us to ship it ground. So the only extra charge that you don't see in the prices that we quote to you would be freight from our office here in Utah to wherever you're having us ship those. Right. Whether it be postage price or a carton cost for those to go,
Yeah,
because
go
there's
both.
just right, because there's so many variables in that. So that's the only number that's we need to custom spot quote for you based on what
Yeah.
you decide to do and how that delivery is going to happen. But that's a 3-week turn time. Mailing is something we do all the time. Usually our mailings, again, if we're talking about that same quantity, we're processing mail and dropping that in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I
Or
usually
less.
tell people, within 2 business days of us being done manufacturing, your product can be dropped in the mail. So that's pretty common.
And all we need to be able to do that, we have we need basically an Excel form that's saved as a CSV file. We have that form. Our project managers will send that over to you. Get your list.
As far as the mailing
Yep,
list.
as far as the mailing. If we're going to mail this for you, we need your mail list. We'll scrub your list. We'll CAS certify your list as part of our service.
Yeah.
We'll print all the labels, put it on your mailer box. You need to make sure that your designer is designing your mailer box to have a label cover most of one side of that box. Sometimes that's overlooked, so we want to make sure that that mailer box is designed to mail. The label's going to slap on the outside of it like this, and it's going to mail. you
So
can
that's
put it on the
that's your
outside.
point. I brought these up here because these are popular sizes, and I wanted to kind of give you guys some frame of reference. I mean, it's hard to, obviously we're, digital platform, but this is a 4x6. This is a 5x7, and you can see this label is, pretty much it's good size 4x6. Now, the mailer box is obviously not 4x6, but if you have a small one like that, it does take up, a fair amount of space, and obviously this is a very small label application. And this was something we did early on, and you can see there's a piece of branding there that if that label goes on, it's going to obscure the branding. So work on not having your branding in an area that is, the label's going to get slapped over it.
And our new templates call out that
Yeah.
label size.
And this
so
is
you
6
should
by
see that.
9. So the box itself is 10 by 6 and an eighth or something like that. And then inside of these pieces, this is kind of what it looks like. So it arrives, it's highly branded, right? So it's not a bubble mailer. And it's got a significant amount of profile in it. So these are about almost an inch thick. So it's not going to fall and just kind of blend into any kind of letter stock and stuff like that you get typically in your mailbox, or with the receptionist or whatever, mailroom, whatever. So when they receive it, there's a little bubble sleeve that this comes into, but I took it out just to make this simple. And that's what you have, and then it opens up and it starts playing. So you can see it's pretty much, it'll do the same thing every single time. If you notice our branding, this is our piece, obviously, in MediaFast, but you can see that it doesn't have a whole lot of copy in it at all, because we want the brochure itself to allow the video to do its job. Now, we've got, obviously, a statement in here, and that's Here, Touch, Remember, because we think that's what happens with these pieces. So just minimal amount of copy is important. Don't distract people from the video. So I'm not saying don't put taglines and stuff in there. Those are great, but don't put in all graphs and all kinds of different things like that, because you're going to distract them from what they're doing is watching this video and keeping them emotional.
Well, we say keep them right-brained.
Yeah.
You want to keep them right-brained and not send them left-brained. Keep them emotional. A lot of times I'll tell people, market to people's pain. You want to tell them why whatever you're offering will take away a pain that they have, whether that be better software, access to a new, home, if you're a real estate agent, whatever the case may be. There's, thousands of opportunities that these market to. But if your message can speak to that they want changed, whatever that pain is, and you emotionally engage them to think, this is the answer I've been looking for,
Yeah.
you're 80% of the way there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you give them too much information,
Yeah.
then they've drawn some conclusions.
They can talk themselves out of it sometimes.
and that's not what we want. We want them to be able to stay in the emotional state, think it's totally cool, be excited about your product or service, or your organization if you're fundraising or whatever it may be, and to pick up that phone or send you an email or something like that, so you guys once again can do the best work you do, and that's finish that 20% that's needed to bring that client over. So.
Well, I have one more thing I want to add.
Yeah.
We talk about this too. When these show up in the office, because I've had some clients say, what happens when this shows up? Like, how do people react? And we've had a lot of experience with how people react to these pieces. And in my, career, when I was in college, I worked as a receptionist / administrative assistant and screened mail for people, the executives in the company. This would have made it to them every single time. There's no way I would have
sure.
screened out this. So, and in addition to that, I would open it, watch it, and now the message is not only saved for them, it's me, and usually it's shared with everyone along the path to get to the executive that usually it's designed for.
Yeah.
So you basically sprinkled your message through the entire office as it makes its way to your desired recipient.
Yeah.
And that we have some case studies with with pharmaceutical reps
Yeah.
that have sent these to doctors' offices. And the staff in a doctor's office is extremely influential because the doctor doesn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And they really, guard his time. And so as much as the pharma rep wants to talk to the doctor, they also need to influence the staff that sees the patients, that cares about their well-being. And if you can educate the people around your decision maker, which this piece does an amazing job doing, because it's cool, they want to watch it because it's cool, and then you kind of trick them into watching your message, you've just educated the whole office.
Yeah, and that particular example, if next time you're in the doctor's office, I hope you're not there for anything serious, but next time you're there, look around, because chances are you're going to see somebody in that office that doesn't really belong there as a patient, and they're sitting there waiting for to talk to a doctor, and I tell people, it's like, doctors make their money with their hands. Obviously they have knowledge, but they make their money with their hands. So if they're not practicing, unless they have a huge practice, right, with a whole bunch of doctors under them, they make their money seeing their patients. So their time is spent with their patients. That's how they make their money. So they rarely have enough time to go sit with a rep, for example. So with these pieces, in many cases, it's just not the doctor that has to say, I'm good with this, because it could be a service, it could be a piece of machinery that's going in there, some kind of
new X-ray
stuff,
machine,
whatever.
whatever. Yeah.
So you need buy-in from a lot of people. So when you go in and drop this off, now the receptionist side now escalates it to
the CNA sees it.
All these different people, nurse practitioners. So it's going up vertically, laterally, and it's getting buy-in from the entire staff. So that's huge, because at that point, the doctor doesn't necessarily have to go in and say, hey, guys, I've got this, thinking about this. They've already seen it. They've already seen it. Maybe it speaks to their pain, and they're all on the same level, at least from that particular message. And in that example you were talking about, that specific company, they're calling the rep before the rep even leaves the building.
Yeah, they're not even. They work from home. They haven't made it home.
Yeah.
And the story that we had heard that the client told me, and they're coming back and ordering 2,000 more video brochures because it was such a success.
Yeah.
She said to me, we've been trying to crack this doctor's office forever. Yeah. And they wouldn't give us the time of day.
Well, it's multiple locations. They had
That's
multiple
true.
offices.
Yeah.
So it's huge. It's
they dropped this off, and what they didn't even make a home. So they didn't mail this piece. A lot of times what will happen in the pharma industry is these will go out to the reps, and the reps will use what we've coined the name a leave and retrieve approach.
Right.
Because you'll drop this off, and it has a high enough perceived value that you can say, I want to come back and get this in a couple days. Can you share it with the doctor or the rest of your staff or whatever, and I'll come back and get it. Is Thursday okay? Yeah. And they come back and get it. It's not so much that they care about getting the video brochure, although it's great. It can be recycled and used as many times as you want.
Amortization is different, because now it's a sales tool, and you're continuing to utilize it.
And you can use it over and over again, but you basically, they gave you permission for a second appointment, which is a big deal. Because you want that second appointment, she just set it up for you, or whoever you're asking. And so then when you come back in 2 days and say, hey, I just came to pick up that piece, did you get a chance to watch it? Oh, they watched it. Yeah. and now you have a whole different conversation.
Yeah, totally. So I think, we're getting through this stuff pretty good. And if you guys are commenting, I don't know if you guys are, because I'm not looking for that, but if you guys are commenting, I'll get back to those comments some other time, because I'm in the middle of your week and I really didn't tell you guys that we were going to do this. We just wanted to get it done. So I'm going to kind of get through this, and then any comments that you guys have, we'll circle back. We're either going to respond to you personally, or we may set up another follow-up segment at that time, maybe a part 2 or something.